Amitwofo, dear scholars. You are about to watch a video clip which reintroduces Zi Gui, or the standards of being a good student and child. But before that, let me ask you this. Who wants to have a successful life? One of the most valued successful athlete in our country is Mr. Manny Pacquiao. We have heard his rag to riches story. It is indeed very inspiring. Who would refuse to live like him nowadays? He almost have everything, especially money. Every day is a daily struggle just to earn a living. Seems like if you have money, you can have or buy everything that you want. You'll get to live in a very luxurious house. Oh, how we all love it. Young people nowadays dream of visiting beautiful places here and abroad. What about you? What places would you wish to see one day? You to ride and experience fast and convenient transportation is just so exciting. Right? When you are successful, you can easily replace your old gadgets with a much more trendy ones. How wonderful life would be if we all become successful and have all those. What do you think? But still, most of us are not really happy. More and more problems are arising ahead of us. More You may have a complete family, but there's no peace in what you're supposed to call home. The relationship between husband and wife deteriorates and marriage ends up in separation. With all the rights and privileges given to them, they grow up immaturely and become troublemakers. Children do not act like children. Mature. Without proper guidance from parents, how can a child grow up with proper behavior? This is because parents do not act like parents. Another problem is that the relationship of people and the environment is getting worse. People have become highly educated, yet they fail to preserve the nature for the future. Because people have become more and more greedy that they destroy the earth. Also, the relationship of the employers and employees is disintegrating. Respect is very essential to work as a team. In absence of it, the company would not prosper, as the working environment would be too stressful. Would you be happy living with all these problems? As what is the reason behind these problems? It is because of moral crisis. According to Bill Gates, I think everybody should get rich and be famous and do everything he ever dreamed of so he can see that it's not the answer to happiness. Rich. Why would he say such? He is one of the richest person in the planet. Isn't he happy with his life? The answer is pretty obvious. Money is not everything. Yes, you can buy things that can make you happy, but happiness isn't only limited to money. A person without morals would amount to nothing. No matter how successful or rich we can be, but without morals, we will live an unhappy life. So what should we do? Do you want change? But where should we start? The foundation for all things must be done through cultivation of self. Just like cultivating the soil for our plant, we need to nourish it with good things. It means we need to do good and practice good habits so we can all grow the right way. Once we have completed our self-cultivation, the world is complete as well. Cultivating self is to cultivate the world. Those who want to make the world better must not emphasize the outside world, but oneself first. How can we change ourselves? And that's what we're going to learn. Let's learn Zi Gui, or the standards for being a good student and child. What is Zi Gui? It is a book taught by the Chinese saints and sages in the ancient past. The sages' guiding principles for leading a life of moral excellence, written by a sage Li Yushu in Qing Dynasty. It is based on the great sage Confucius' principle. You might also wonder who Confucius is. Confucius lived around 551 to 479 BC. According to the Chinese tradition, he was a philosopher, political figure, educator, and a founder of a Chinese school of thought. Now, what's the foundation of this book? First of all, it is love. Love is when we use our heart to feel the needs of others. Also, kindness. It is when we think of other people when I think of myself. Kind. In a nutshell, it is based on loving kindness. Why do we need to learn this? To be a wise person, using wisdom and compassion equally. If your neighbor is not blessed with wealth and you decided to provide him with all his needs, that's what we call compassion. Compassion, but it lacks wisdom. Why? Because you're supposed to teach him to earn a living and survive on his own. He cannot just rely on you forever. In your absence, how can he survive? So, we should learn how to use our wisdom and compassion equally. He survives. In short, we have to think well on how we can help the needy. Secondly, we need to learn Zi Gui in order for us to have good relationship with people and nature. Well, you could just imagine if there's no harmony between people to people and people to nature, how chaotic the world can be. Another important reason as to why everyone should learn Zi Gui is that we will be able to know how to deal with things and matters properly. It will give us a clearer perspective in life. Once you practice loving kindness, you will learn to neglect issues and value a relationship instead. Also, you will learn to focus on how to improve oneself rather than wasting time on petty things. You, if everyone can be a wise person who practices wisdom and compassion, value relationship with people and nature, know how to deal with matters properly, then we can all have a happy and successful life. Let's all try our best to learn Zi Gui and influence others to do the same. Now, I'll be giving you some tips on how to learn Zi Gui effectively. First, read all the guidelines as many times as possible. Second, understand the meaning of each teaching. Some lines from Zi Gui may only be applicable in the past. However, we can still be able to practice it by way of understanding the deeper meaning of the lines. After you have successfully read all the guidelines and understand the meaning of each teaching, then you can proceed to the third one, which is to carry out the guidelines every day in my daily life. So we will have to apply whatever we have learned. Now, there are actually three things that we should do without any interruption. First of all, read all the guidelines once in the morning to remind myself. Second, in the evening, I will read the guidelines to check. Third, day by day, I will discipline myself to think, speak, and act with wisdom. I hope you understand the three things that you should do without interruption. To summarize, just remember RUP. It means read, understand, and practice. Now let me show you a realization about how habit works. By the way, what is habit? In psychology, it is an automatic pattern of behavior in reaction to a specific situation. It may be inherited or acquired through frequent repetition. Here is a simple way to describe about habit formation. At first, your senses perceive the presence of the chocolate. Second, your brain will develop the idea that it's delicious. It's my favorite. So after that, you will eat after another. After what will happen if you had too much of chocolate? Of course, you will get to realize that after eating too much chocolate, we will feel that our throat and stomach are painful. Is that we will make a realization and tell it to ourselves that eating too much chocolate causes pain. Until after, we will make a promise, I will not eat chocolate. But the problem is, how can we avoid becoming a slave of our few inches tongue? So few days later, these thoughts will fade away. Again, you will be tempted by your senses until the cycle goes on and on and on, and you cannot stop yourself from eating chocolate and becoming obese. But then again, you have to remember, be careful of your thoughts, it becomes your words. Be careful of your word, it becomes your action, and your action becomes your destiny. That's all about habit formation. Now let's proceed to the outline of Zi Gui. Zi Gui, or Standards for Being a Good Student and Child, is a book that was taught by Chinese saints and sages of the ancient past. The book first teaches us how to be dutiful to our parents and how to be respectful and loving to our siblings. You will find this in the first two chapters of the book. It then teaches us how to be cautious with all people, matters, and objects in our daily lives. Then you can have them in the third chapter of Zi Gui. And in the fourth chapter of this lesson, you will learn how to be a trustworthy person and to believe in the teachings of the ancient saints and sages. Furthermore, it teaches us to love all equally and to be close to and learn from people of virtue and compassion. Take note that love emphasized in here is not only limited to loving people but also to animals. Only when we have accomplished all the above can we then study further and learn literature and art to improve the quality of our cultural and spiritual lives. It simply means that morals should be taught first before learning the highly academic subjects such as math, science, history, and all others. Sadly, parents emphasize more on acquiring skills first rather than inculcating values to the young children. Now the question is, are you willing to change for the better? Here are some attitudes in order to learn Zi Gui. First, have a great and proper attitude. For example, you would say, I'm very willing to correct my mistake. Why? Death is like a thief in the night. We don't know till when we have time to change our bad attitude. So, might as well start now while we still have time to change, or else you will be forever trapped in samsaric cycle of life. That's in Buddhism. In number two, correcting mistake is one of the most happiest things in life. In No one is perfect. Mistakes are part of life, and with it we can learn to do better. So as the famous saying goes, no one is perfect. But you just have to remember this. First, we make mistake but we can correct it. Second, there is no greater goodness than correcting mistakes. Third, very important, I will not give up on myself. I can do it. Let's all learn to cultivate ourselves, do good, and become successful.